if you weren't, I don't know if the word is educated or experienced, or if you haven't been exposed and learned that these things aren't real, then, you can buy into a lot of that stuff. Like the pyramid schemes. Oh my God. There's so much of that.
That is taking over. Yeah. I get invites and messages all the time.
There are people locally who are trying to target people. Yeah. It's scary. Yeah. It's scary. And I mean, like it sounds great, a quick buck or whatever, but it doesn't obviously work out in the end.
No.
Not a good way to do business. So, Kristy, let's talk now about, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about our unscripted thing that we're doing. Okay. So if people heard our first conversation that was aired, I don't know, like a month ago or something like that?
November?
Yeah, maybe? Sometime a while back. Yeah. It's on the Facebook page if they want to find it, on ARC's social media's Facebook page. We started talking about putting together an event, and we were coming up with all kinds of different names, and we kind of landed on Wellness Unscripted for a couple of different reasons, because we're not really, I can't speak for you, but I'm not opposed to like actual, like, Western medicine and prescriptions and stuff like that when appropriate, but the way we're focusing on it is a little bit more towards like overall wellness, not so much the Western medicine kind of area. Yeah. And so the prescription kind of thing was a little bit of the unscripted, but then also unscripted because we don't really know what's going to happen.
We're just kind of winging it.
Yeah, exactly, which is what we seem to do. Yeah. So then from that, we talked about doing a podcast. So let's maybe talk about the podcast a little bit. And for anybody who's listening, this is very much in the ideas phase, as is the event that we're looking at for, I think, May 12th. And we'll just keep on talking about that so that people can kind of stay up to date as to how that develops. But so, what were we talking about last time we got together in terms of the podcast?
Well, the thing about us is when we get together, we just kind of go off on
all kinds of ideas.
So many different ideas.
Yeah. And a lot of which is not appropriate for CFTA radio for various reasons.
Yes. And it's, I mean, not everybody would
be interested,
want to listen or be interested, or might not be applicable. So and we have good conversations, and we have lots of ideas.
Yeah. And we go down a lot of really different paths. A lot of kind of weird paths.
Yeah.
A lot of personal paths.
Yeah.
And a lot of paths that people don't really talk about very openly. So we both agreed it would be nice to be able to talk about this stuff because we're not the only ones who think like this.
Or if we had somebody who had talked about something or similar ideas and things, then we would be like, oh, wow, I wish we had that.
Yeah.
In those situations.
And so since we're being so vague, I mean, for listeners, we're talking about like women's issues. We're talking about relationship stuff. We're talking about business,
kids,
somewhat, parenting. Yeah. We're talking about belief systems and, and that's just sort of a really broad stroke.
And that's why we're unscripted, because
exactly. Because there's everything. Sorry, Mom, but we're going to talk about sexuality on there. We're going to talk about all kinds of cool stuff, substances, everything. And part of the reason we're talking about the podcast on this show is because audio is where business and advertising and marketing is going, as far as I understand. And it's weird. It's new for me because it's this new intangible place where ideas and communication live. It's like radio, only it's different. You go seeking out the topic that you want or the person that you want to listen to.
Yeah.
And again, it's like radio, but it's a lot more intimate, I find, because
it is. Yeah.
Because it's a different kind of conversation than they have on radio.
Well, and it's completely personal, and it's honed into what that person wants, where like radio interviews or shows or anything, it's
more broad.
Generic.
It's for like the general public, and it has to be appropriate for the general public.
Scripted.
Yeah, oftentimes it is. Yeah,
podcasts.
Not this show. But it is scripted. So it's really interesting, and people who are like on the leading edge of social media marketing and stuff like that say audio is where it's at right now, because people are becoming less, from what I understand and what these people say, less interested in sitting down and watching a video unless it's a how-to or something like that. and more interested in turning on the video but just listening to it. Like I do that all the time. I'll put on a YouTube video, but I don't want to watch it because it's really just a person talking and I just want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
And so I've started getting more and more into podcasts, and what I like about podcasts is you can turn your phone screen off, or YouTube, if I turn my phone screen off, then it shuts off the video, which is a total pain. But then I can just put it in my pocket, walk around the house, do my laundry, do whatever, and listen to this. And it's a really kind of like, you feel like that person is talking to you because you can listen to it on a really, when you want to, when you're in, the mode to receive whatever that information is and to really hear it and absorb it and stuff. And so. Yeah,
and it gives you kind of like an inside track to that person or that business or whatever it is, where if you, like, people love to know the nitty gritty of things. And my brother I can't think of the name of it right now, but my brother had sent me a podcast and I listened to all of them. And it was a guy interviewing business owners. So the guy who started Lululemon and different businesses like that.
So if you get your hands on the name of that, share it, because I think that would
I'll
be
look
good.
At it again. It's a simple name, but it was like a year ago that I listened to it, so I can't remember. But it was really cool because things that you wouldn't know about how the business started or why the business started, and you hear it from the person themselves. And it's I liked it. It was really cool. And there's so many different
And you can
podcasts.
listen to it while you're driving. You can listen to it while you're doing whatever. And again, on your own time, whereas radio, you tune in when it's on.
Right.
Chances are you're not really going to sit down and invest that time in watching it on television or something like that. So it's just like audio is kind of where it's at if you want to reach people now. And that, I would say, goes for just about any kind of business, because you don't even need to be like, I mean, here we're not talking about what I do. We're just talking. And this is kind of what the podcast is going to be about. I mean, it's not going to be about ARC, but
it's just anything. I mean, any business can talk. Like Mansour's, for example, they do their little videos, and people love them.
I bet people would get a huge kick out of listening to Mikhail and Roger just having a conversation about, and it could be about people coming in. It could be stories about helping fit people with like the right shirt. Like people would love that. Yeah, they would. Yeah, I think people would have a great time listening to the folks at Dale's. Yeah. Because that's a funny little family in there. I was part of that family for a minute, and it's funny. It's its own dynamic. And I bet if they created a podcast where, like every now and then they all sit around together and talk about, what they're doing, or just talk. Yeah. Like it doesn't even have to be about anything. It would be very entertaining.
Well, our chief and deputy chief librarian have a radio show.
That's right, yeah.
And people love it. They come into the library and they're like, they're so funny.
Yeah.
And they have like topics that they focus on, but I mean,
and they funny.
Go on about different things. And just listening to them, it's hilarious.
Yeah. So if anybody's thinking about kind of venturing into the podcast world, you can give me a call at ARC Social Media, 902-669-3422. I'm always happy to have conversations about different ideas. But if you're interested in getting started on a podcast, it's super, super duper ridiculously easy. And all you do is you put on a mic and you start talking. And that's probably the hardest part, is just starting to talk. Yeah. Because I remember probably about a year ago, I thought I wanted to do a podcast. I don't remember what the topic was. It was more personal, like a process I was going through. And I thought, well, this would be interesting to share because I'm sure other people are going through this. But then I sat down and I put the mic in front of me and I'm like, what do I say? Like, what do people want to hear? But of course, as I've gotten more comfortable with being on Facebook, and, you and I are super comfortable sitting and talking. And now I really like putting the mic on and just going with it. You know, it's a lot of fun. And so as you get more comfortable, that's hopefully what people want to listen to anyways. Yeah.
Well, it is. It's interesting. I mean, there are some podcasts that I've listened to and it's just ridiculousness and it's nothing interesting at all, but there are a lot of interesting ones, and everybody I know listens to podcasts, and there's ones about like funny, crazy things that, like my dad wrote a porn, and then there's like murderers. I thought for a second there you were saying your dad wrote a porn. I was like, wow, there's some disclosure. So for anybody who's listening, Kristy was not just saying that her father wrote a porn. She did not say that. She was talking about a podcast. That would be really funny.
That would be really funny. Yeah. That would be material for our podcast.
Yeah. Just a little taste of what you have to listen to.
No, there's all kinds of stuff out there, and people want to hear about it.
Yeah.
You know? And all you have to do is search a word, and you could find somebody in God knows what kind of little town like Amherst, and they're talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible. So your reach can be really far and really dynamic. Like it makes, you know, they say the world is really small right now. We're all connected, but it really does. And it makes your voice heard, which I think is fascinating. Because anybody, you can be in your basement in your sweatpants and somebody out there is listening to you and connecting. And that is incredible. I think it's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so
cool. And it's, like you said, it's huge for business.
Yeah. And you can be anonymous if you want to.
You can.
Like, you know, in business, you probably don't want to be. You want people to know, you know, where you're coming from and what you represent. But if you have something to express that you want to put out there, nobody has to know who you are.
Yeah.
If you're going through a personal process that you think other people could benefit from hearing about your experiences, go be whoever you want and just talk, you know. It's really cool. Yeah. Anyways, we've pretty much met our 30 minutes total of what we wanted to do today. And for anybody who is listening, we are recording this on New Year's Day.
We're dedicated.
In the afternoon. Yeah, we're super dedicated. But also we put it off. That's why we ended up doing it today at the last minute. But thanks very much, Kristy. I look forward to more of our conversations. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to doing the podcast thing because like we paused halfway